Welcome everyone, my name is Archimus and today we are going to learn how to set up a Minecraft Bedrock Edition server on a Linux server. Now the first thing to note is that the Bedrock Edition of Minecraft is a version that runs on mobile devices, Xbox, PlayStation, etc. Now some of the assumptions and requirements for this to work are as follows. We're using an Ubuntu 20.04 server with root access, a working internet connection, the ability to do port falls on your router if you're going to host a server online, and the initial Linux Game Server Manager dependencies are installed, which we'll get into a moment. The port that by default is used is 19132 on the UDP side of things. That's 19,132. You can get away with a 2-core system with 4 gig of RAM, but I'd recommend 4-core with 8 gig of RAM to handle more players more smoothly. Now, an important thing to note is that all this is done by using a pre-built system called Linux Game Server Managers. 95% of this information is straight from their website. There'll be a link in the description below on how to get there. Now, all I'm showing you is the process of the base install and some of the tricks on the initial setup for the system. Let's swap to the Linux box. Now, we of course assume that you've ran the latest updates for your Linux box and that we've done the Linux game server manager dependencies. And in this particular case, we've already done the creation of the user for the hosting of the running of the server, which is MCB server. So we're going to pretend to be that user right now. MCB server. And then we grab straight from their website again the initial links. Okay, so we've just done that. So the next part now is we do the actual install of the software. This will take a couple of minutes to run, depending on your internet connection and the system that's hosting the software. Yeah, if you've got a clunky old machine with bad hard drives, then it'll take a bit longer to run. So what we'll do is we'll pause this right here for a second while this runs, and we'll come back to you in just a moment. Okay, now that that's completed, we'll start by editing a couple of the basic configuration files. So to do that, grab your favorite editor. In my case, it's Nano. And under server files and then server properties, you'll see a big file full of information. First off is the server name. Set that to whatever you want it to be. In our case, it's going to be Learning with Archimus. You've got your game mode there, which will leave as survival, difficulty being easy. You can also set it to do whitelisting, so if you only want certain users to connect, that sort of thing. You can also change, if we go down a little bit further, the view distance, player max players, which is back here somewhere. There you go. And the last couple, which is very important, if we scroll nearly all the way to the bottom here, we'll have server authoritative movements. And what that will do is compare what keys the client enters compared to where the user is actually within the world. And then what it'll do is it'll move it back appropriately. So to correctly set this so that way you can't have, hackers, that sort of thing, using movement cheats and flying cheats and things like that, what you do is you change this to server-auth, and then down here to correct player movement, change this to true. So we'll save that. Now, if you're going to use a whitelist for only allowing certain players, then you would edit the whitelist.json file, which is under server files again. And in here, you would set the name to match your player's name, which in this case would be like so to say Archimus. So we're going to do this. We're going to go name Archimus. And then below that, we're going to have ignores player limit. I'm going to set this to true. Now that option will mean that I can join the server even if the server is full. So as an admin, that'd be a very handy thing to see someone's just filling it up with, silly people doing silly things. I can still jump in and control things. Okay. Now, if you want the player to be an admin or an operator, then you'd have to edit the permissions.json file, which is also under server files. And in here, what you would do is very similar to the previous file. Create an entry like this. Go permissions, sorry. And I'm going to set myself as an admin, so that's operator. And then what I need here is what they call the XUID. And in this case, for me, it is 2574837232024. And we'll save that. Now that XUID you can get from various sites. So it's looking up your Xbox ID. I'll post a link to the one I use to get mine in the description below. Now, if you also wanted to have it do things like reporting back to like a Discord channel or something like that, then if you look under the LGSM /config LGSM MCB server and then MCB server CFG, you can then put in the following commands to make it work for that. Now these are all on the actual website for LGSM. So in this case, oops, sorry, we don't need the talk marks there. Discord alert equals on Discord webhook equals, and that's where you type in your long discord.com/API/webhook/ blah 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 blah. Now in this case, we're not going to save that because this is only a learning process. All right. So now what we do is we actually go and start the server. So MCB server start. It'll go away, grab a couple of files it will need to start off for the first time. It shouldn't need to do it every time though. And then in a second, it'll report back saying that's actually started. And there we go. So then if we were to go MCB server details, what that will do is it'll then go and grab all the information about the server for us, including whether it started, ports, commands, where the config files, all that sort of thing. Now we can also go, if you need to restart it on the fly, you just made a minor configuration change, something like that, you can use MCB server restart. Well, that will do is it'll stop the server and then restart it again straight away. So I'll let that run through. So I'll stop it and then start it. To stop the server, once again, MCB server, and just simply stop. That'll take a couple of seconds, and depending on how big the world is and how many players, it may take, a couple of seconds. It could take 20 seconds. The last one is that if you want to see what's happening on the console directly and be able to interact with the server console, of course, the server has to be running, so we're just going to start that, and then MCB server console. So let's give that a second. Now the important thing is that because you're doing a quick jump into the console itself, don't use Control C to come out. Use Control B and then D. So then we're in, and you can see what's happening on the server right there. And you can do things like the quick command or say, or whatever the case may be, say hello, and they'll say it out to everyone on the world. So Control B, D. Okay, so if you want to see what's happening with your server, usage, that sort of thing, you can use a command like htop, and that will bring up a listing, in this case graphical, and you can see what the cores are doing, what the memory is doing, that sort of thing, what the most intensive process is at the moment. In our case, of course, because there's nothing else running on it, it's the Bedrock server. Now, the last couple of things to do is a bit more of a maintenance type thing, and that's to use a couple of commands just to run every now and again to do things like monitoring, updates, things like that. So if we go cron tab -e, use your favorite entries. Okay, so what we're going to do in this case is, let me just grab a couple of commands here, and there we go, nearly there. All right. Whoops, did that wrong. Okay, let's try that again. Go to the bottom this time. Okay, so the first one, what it does is it simply monitors while the server is running if it's running or not, if it's crashed. If you've initiated a server start with the MCB server start and you've got the monitor running, what it'll do is that every 5 minutes it checks. If it thinks the server should be running, it'll start it again for you. And if you have that Discord alert switched on in the config, or email alert, or whatever the case may be, it'll send an alert through for you as well. The second one, it was that every 30 minutes, it'll go and check to see if there's an update for Minecraft Bedrock. Now, you don't have to run this all the time. You can change this around to make this look a little different. Okay, so what you could do is change this to be something more like, if we go 0, 3, star, 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 it should be like that. Yep. Okay, so they'll only run at 3 AM instead each day. The last one just does a general update for the LGSM files, and it'll just check to see, and they'll only run it on a Sunday. The last one is not documented, unfortunately. And what this one does do is when the server reboots or starts up, it'll wait 30 seconds and it'll force the server to start. Now, unfortunately, I've typed the wrong one there. There we go. I had the wrong command there because I was using it in another tutorial. And that is MCB server start. So let's say the Linux box crashes for some reason, restarts, it'll wait 30 seconds once it's started, then start Bedrock for you. Okay, so now that we've covered all that off, what we'll do is we'll swap to the actual game and we'll join it just to show that it actually works. Just connecting to it right now. And as always, so fast. And there's our world. Good to go and flying. All right. Well, thanks everyone for watching this tutorial. If you found it handy, hit that magic like button and subscribe for more content. I will be releasing more how-to videos in the coming weeks, along with in-game tutorials on things from Minecraft to Valheim to Escape from Tarkov. Thanks again and have fun playing.